anybody who doesn't think that Josh Allen's good is wrong. There's not many universal truths in this world. There's not a lot of black and white. A lot of life is gray, but there is very clearly a right and a wrong. If you think that Josh Allen is bad, you're just wrong. Because after this past week against the Kansas City Chiefs, I understand it's at home. You're feeling it. The home field advantage kind of cooked into this one a little bit, but you took down the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not doing anything to take away from him in this performance. 27 for 40, 262 yards. He had a touchdown and interception, also had 55 yards on the ground, led the team in rushing. Allen was responsible for 317 of the team's 366 yards, and he had 5 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays. It was a masterful performance by Josh Allen. And Seth, the question that I want to ask you is not like, oh man, is Josh Allen good? To me, I think the bigger question.
Sorry, no, please ask me that question.
Okay,
so
all right.
I can get off. I want to get off the hook as easy as possible.
Okay, first of all, is Josh Allen good?
Yes. Next question.
Okay, all right. So now that we got that out of the way and people can't come for you, essentially, how good is he? Because going into the season, I had some doubts about this Buffalo Bills team overall. And when I looked at this offense in particular, I said, all right, it's certainly not the worst offense in the NFL. I want to be very clear there. But in terms of where the Buffalo Bills wanted to go, making a deep playoff run, getting over the hump for the Super Bowl, obviously winning this division in what was supposed to be a tough division, it's certainly turning out to be easier than we thought because the Jets are bad. And the Miami Dolphins, well, at the beginning of the season were bad. Is there ever something or a situation for Josh Allen where there's too much on his plate? Because that's what I thought going into the year. I thought, no, okay, the Buffalo Bills are going to take a step back because it's too much. It's too much for Josh Allen. I don't doubt how good Allen is, but I felt like this situation for the Buffalo Bills was not ideal enough. That situation is better than I thought, admittedly. They're playing better than I thought they would, admittedly. But Josh Allen is also just elevating to a level we have never seen before. Is there ever going to be a situation where it's just too much for Josh Allen, or is he just this superhuman, and we have to understand that about him?
Yeah, I mean, he's superhuman. I think the supporting cast that will probably continue to get better as Amari Cooper gets healthier and more integrated into the offense. It is obviously it wasn't like that at the beginning of the season, but I think the O-line gelled in a really good way this season. You do have some good bookend pieces in Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins. And I think with Shakir kind of like being a super useful player, that was enough to a certain degree for Josh Allen to work with. And now but they didn't have an outside kind of X-type receiver. And like I said, they're trying to integrate Amari Cooper into the offense. You saw 2 sick plays where he was able to go up one-on-one down the sideline. One was a double move, but both of them were over the shoulder catches where he, especially the second one on the sluggo where he has to make an incredible adjustment to track the ball and bring it in and get both feet in. So I think that is the thing that's going to elevate them the most, is just that outside receiver play, because they really don't have anyone like that. They came in the season thinking it was going to be Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Turns out Marquez Valdes-Scantling is actually the best receiver in the league. It's just happening for the New Orleans Saints. But
I mean, the numbers support that argument. You're correct, actually. Rashid Shaheed, who needs him? Chris Olave, never heard of him.
Insane. The best receiver that's ever lived. And it's whatever, anyways. I have a whole thing of Marcus Valdes-Scantling MVS stats that I won't bring up now. But so yeah, that's kind of the thing with Allen. And I think the thing with the Bills offense, but I think with Allen, I'll just never not think that the floor is so damn high when Allen is playing quarterback, and especially in big games.
Yeah.
In games where the defense can take away like a first read type of situation. And we've seen games where the defense really hasn't taken away their first read, or they've dialed up some really good explosive plays to get guys open. Like a one read situation where like, this is the guy we're going to get open, and if he's not there, we're kind of screwed, but he gets open. And they've been a great offense when that's happened, obviously. But you play against the Chiefs, and like with Trent McDuffie, they can take away a first read, right? The Trent McDuffie is that good of a cornerback, and still they go out there and they're able to. Now, this is a Chiefs pass defense that hasn't been great since Jalen Watson went down, but at the same time, like, Allen's going through his reads. There's not a lot of like open, like easy open stuff early in the play, and Allen is still able to kind of go through his reads. And obviously, we know his ability to run the football. It's not like they use them so much, if I'm not mistaken, as like a design runner. This game was like the scrambles where he's deadly and won the game on a scramble. And I think that's where the floor is just so high, and you're really hoping, like, we've seen Amari Cooper be the focal point and the carrier of an offense. That was like the Joe Flacco led Cleveland Browns last season, was really just the actually Amari Cooper led Cleveland Browns. And they're at the point where, like you said, like this division is stinky. You're winning the division. You're now with this win against the Chiefs, you're thinking, hey, maybe we get a bye week, and you have time now to. I keep going back to this, but you have time now to get Allen and Cooper on the same page, because you just keep winning games and you're getting close to the bye week. So that's kind of where I am with this offense. It always is going to have the upper echelon ceiling, and the floor is just so high because Josh Allen doesn't make a ton of mistakes.
Building off of sort of what you just said, the 1 seed all of a sudden is really, really important for the Buffalo Bills. And it's not that I'm saying that they can't win on the road. This team is capable of winning on the road. They've shown that already this season, 11 weeks in. But Allen becoming this version of the player when they're at home is just like, that's something where I'm not saying they can't win on the road, but it's really hard to beat the Bills, certainly right now, with Josh Allen playing the way that he is when they are at home. They're undefeated at home so far this season. They're 5-0. Josh Allen's 2 highest graded passing grades have come at home this season. His lowest grade has come when he's been on the road. And there have been a couple of good road games as well. Again, I'm not trying to say that it's night and day. That's not my point. But it felt as though, maybe even 2-3 weeks ago, the 1 seed was just going to go to the Kansas City Chiefs, and maybe the Kansas City Chiefs do end up getting the 1 seed when it's all said and done. But now the Buffalo Bills have the tiebreaker over them, and they're basically right there when it comes to record. The Chiefs are sitting there at 9-1, the Bills are sitting there at 9-2. So they're basically neck and neck with where the Kansas City Chiefs are, and if they tie, it's going to go to Buffalo. And I think a lot of people talk about, if you get the bye week's obviously really important. You get an extra week to heal up and rest. That is important. To me, though, for Buffalo, the confidence that this team plays with when they are at home this season has been a difference maker. And for as much as Buffalo's expectations from the general media, myself, hand up, was maybe less this year than it was in previous seasons, they're still clearly trying to win a Super Bowl, and they're still on that track. And I think them getting the 1 seed is huge. I don't think I could bet against this team if they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Certainly, it would have to take a couple of night and day performances from what we have seen from Buffalo so far this year, but I just don't feel like we're going to get that because, like you said, it's hard to not believe in this team when you see them go. I mean, it's not just Amari Cooper either. I think Curtis Samuel's playing with more juice as well. They're getting the tight ends involved in a better way. Khalil Shakir, he has evolved from, he's not just this like slot receiver, and that was sort of my projection for him going into the season. It's like, all right, well, I like him when you give him the two-way goes, when he's in the slot. I don't really know how valuable he'd be outside the numbers, but they're not only using him outside the numbers in the slot, they'll use him out of the backfield. They'll motion him into the backfield. They're extremely willing to be as creative as they can with all of their wide receiver pieces. And to me, that's a telltale sign of an offense that's really humming, that has a ton of confidence in their quarterback. And so to me, home field advantage for the Buffalo Bills is now becoming paramount, because it is such a force multiplier for how well they are playing. How do you beat Josh Allen the way that he's playing right now if he's at home? It's so hard for me to predict that anybody in the AFC, even the Kansas City Chiefs, would be able to do that if a playoff game were to be in Buffalo. So to me, it's just they're on a road to the 1 seed, and they kind of need to get the 1 seed, because if they do, they become almost unstoppable in my opinion.
Here's my pushback against that, because this is the issue. like I agree. Like when I look at how many quarterbacks could go into a game in Buffalo weather in January and have a game, like, because it is a good defense, right? You know, their defense, the Buffalo defense is a defense that is like probably better than the individual pieces. They're like a good unit, communicate well. They don't allow a lot of big explosive plays. They make you work the field, and then they rally and tackle really well. But like, of all the quarterbacks in the league, how many of them could go into a windy Buffalo, New York, Western New York, January day or night even, and have a day? First one is Josh Allen, and he plays for your team, so that's good.
That's good. That's good.
The issue is the other ones are all they're all in the AFC, and they're all gonna be in the playoffs. Like Patrick Mahomes can go and do that. He has won a playoff game there. You know, Lamar Jackson playing this year, I know he has played there before, but like this kind of Lamar Jackson that we're seeing right now can go there and do that. Justin Herbert can go there and fight through the wind as good as Josh Allen can. So like that's going to be the issue, is like, yeah, like if you get a Bo Nix or like a Russell Wilson who maybe doesn't have that, you know, Stroud is in there too, as a potentially good quarterback, though that Texans team doesn't have the magic this year. I think that's pretty clear. Like that's where I get nervous. It's just going to be the quarterback, and this is true for everyone, right? Like we've seen, like there's just the top quarterbacks in this league, guys who can win you a game by themselves, are all in the AFC. And it's too bad, because like we're going to get a situation where one of these guys is going to be the Dan Marino, whether it's, you know, it's not Mahomes, obviously he has the Super Bowls, but maybe it's Allen, maybe it's Lamar, maybe it's Justin Herbert, where they're just clearly an elite quarterback every year, and then there's just stuff that happens in the playoffs. And I understand winning the playoffs is supposed to be important, and yeah, sure, but it's also like there's a lot of luck involved, and a lot of weird stuff happens in the playoffs. So it's just too bad. But that's kind of my concern about teams coming into Buffalo, is like there's 4 quarterbacks in the league that I would pick to win a game in a windy situation, a cold, windy situation, and they all play in the AFC, and they're all going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it's the Dan Marino comp is a tough one, but you're right. There's so many great quarterbacks, and only one can win it every single year. So you only get so long where you have a prime in your career. I'm not saying that it would make the road easy. I do agree with you. There's great quarterbacks in the AFC, but
no, I won't say like, hey, just go and be the 7th seed and go through the play. I'm not saying that.
Just go into Buffalo, like real casually. Yeah. I know, I understand where you're coming from, though. There are quarterbacks that are capable of doing it, but it is hard for me to, the very first quarterback that you listed on that list, you were like, Josh Allen, and he plays for your team, thankfully. It's hard for me to, even those great quarterbacks, for the way that Buffalo is playing, how well they're playing right now, how well Josh Allen is playing right now, it's hard for me to imagine somebody going into Buffalo in January and beating them the way that he is playing the game right now. So that, to me, is the storyline of, with this win against the Chiefs, not only just did they knock the Chiefs off from an undefeated season, you now own the tiebreaker for a number 1 seed that becomes really, really important for you. Because if you can get it, I think you've got a really good, strong a really strong case. Tried to do case and chance, ended up going with case there, to get to the Super Bowl in New Orleans when it's all said and done. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can come one today.